Hey guys, let's do this. I was talking with a friend earlier, and what a genuinely good guy. But, I was talking to him about things that, like, I like to tend to do, and sometimes maybe I'm a bit much. I'm not for everybody. You ever, you ever feel that way? I'm not for everybody. But I really like to skip over small talk. I want to talk to people, and I want to know their stories, and I want them to share stories with me, and I want to share mine. I'm an extrovert in that, and I've always been that way, and I've always liked talking with people. And I remember, I'll never forget it. For the most part, everybody that I can think of that I've wanted to not necessarily build a relationship with, but talk with, um, I've been able to sit down and have conversations. And here's the example of when I really realized, and it was started young. Everybody that I want to sit with and learn from and ask questions from, I've gotten to do that. Scripture tells us that God gives us the desires of our hearts. Now, I've never really had a great job, something that I really love doing. I've never really made a lot of money, though I've never been broke. I'm a minimalist, so when you're a minimalist, you live within your means. And even though I've never made great money, I've never needed anything. I've always, I've always had. I've never gone without, let's say. But I remember a pastor was talking one time, and he said, one of the biggest forms of currency that there is people who can make friends. People who can make friends. Scripture says, in order to find yourself a friend, of course, it's common sense, right? But you must be found friendly, right? But I remember, I'll never forget it. I was 20 years old. My first trip overseas was to China. Go big or go home, right? So I went to Hong Kong, spent a couple weeks in Hong Kong, and then took a train, spent a couple weeks up in China. And I remember there was a guy who was leading the trip. He was from Hong Kong. He was one of the leaders, translators, so on and so forth. And I thought, man, this guy is a beautiful soul. You could just tell. He was a beautiful soul. Caring, compassionate, dedicated. And I'm just one guy on this trip. And I thought, man, I would love to sit and talk with this guy and just hear a bit of his story. And you could tell he was a good leader. And I remember we caught a train in Hong Kong, and you go up through, I think it's called Guangzhou. Go up through Guangzhou, and we were headed up to Fujian. And it's those long trains, takes 24 hours, something like that, something crazy on these trains. And they have these bunk beds up against one side. And it's cramped quarters, it's a train car. But you have beds on one side, and then you have a hallway that runs alongside the beds. But periodically on the wall on the opposite side, there's these little fold-out tables that come down into in the hallway. You just sit in the hallway, and there's these tiny little chairs that fold down as well, like spring-loaded, table and chairs, and they just fold down like this here. And I remember it was the middle of the night. I have no idea where in China I am. I was a young man. I was a kid for all intents and purposes. And I couldn't sleep. So I get up and I go over to the foldable table and I sit down. And I remember I'll never forget this. Very picturesque, very beautiful. I just fold the tables down and I'm looking out the window. And periodically you'd see a little village pass by. You'd see the lights, middle of the night, some lights on. Maybe there wasn't a lot of electricity out there, or it wasn't on a full grid. I don't know. But it was something out of a movie. It was something picturesque and new and really incredible. And my whole life, I mean, I don't travel anymore, and that's my own doing. But I've just been to some of the best places on the planet and met the best people on the planet. But as I'm there in the middle of the night and I'm looking out and I'm seeing lights off in the distance and I'm seeing little villages, things like that as we're going down the tracks, this man that I was wondering if I could maybe have a conversation, but he was busy, During the day it's busy, But he come over and he sits down at the other little chair there. And this guy and I sit and we talk for like 3 hours in the middle of the night. No one else was up sitting around, no one was doing anything. People would get up periodically to go to the restroom, something like that. But there was no one out there. There was nothing going on. It was complete, just, the background noise of the train. But I'll never forget that. And in some cosmic mystery way, maybe it was God kind of fathering, God kind of guiding, let's say. But I've noticed something. Everybody that I've wanted to develop a relationship of some way, shape, or form, for the most part, it's happened every time. Every time I've wanted to shake hands with the right people and talk with the right people. And this has helped me in other ways as well. It's gotten me work, talking to people. It's got me married at one point. But what a blessing it is. If God gives you the desires of your hearts. I've always wanted a better job. So there's areas that I'm lacking. I wanted to make more money, so on and so forth. And that's never been my main goal. People have always been my main goal. Relationships have always been my main goal. Wanting to understand and communicate better, which I'm not good at, but that's always been my goal, right? And everybody I've always wanted to talk to and sit with and have a cup of coffee with. Got another story for you, actually, to piggyback on that. And I've just thought of this. This is a 100% true story, man. I was in Bible school. And I'm from a really small town. Everybody knows each other. It's wonderful, wonderful place. And I remember I left for a year, a little bit over a year, for a Bible school. Made some really good friends there. It really changed the trajectory of my life completely, going to this school. And I remember I come back to my hometown, and maybe 6 months passed by, 8 months passed by, something like that. And I was really missing my friends from the school. And I was really quite alone, actually. Kind of a young single guy then. And I remember I would just pace downtown and go walk and go pray. And I remember just praying, like, God, I really need some friends right now. I'm really kind of wanting to be back in that school setting with friends and things like that. And really good conversations, and people were always talking about deep subjects and concepts and stuff, which I really love. And I kid you not, in the town where I'm from, if you know me and you know where I grew up, you know where I'm talking about. But there's I kind of walk the downtown area there. I remember just walking and like being really depressed, probably. And just, God, I need a friend right now. That's it. I just need a friend. And there's a hotel there that used to be open back then. It closed for a lot of years, and it's been revamped now, and it's open again. It's called St. Cloud. If you know where I'm from, you know. And I think it's called something different now. But I remember walking down the street, coming down that corner, and crossing the street there, and the tour bus from the ministry team of the school that I just left, the true story, was there spending a few days on a little vacation trip as they're bussing around the country putting on these events, let's say, it's the best way to say it. And I remember just having such a hard time when I come across the street there and I see this bus, and I remember I come and I turn the corner, or the street actually, I was crossing back over the street, and I look and see the side of the bus, and again, it's the school that I just left. It's all over the side of that bus. And I spent a couple days, I think I even took a day off work, and I knew a number of these people. One of the guys used to be my roommate at school, and they didn't know that I lived there. And I walk in and I see these faces that are familiar to me, and we had a wonderful couple of days. And I'd go in and in the evenings and say hi. I think I took a day off too, if I remember right, and got to sit in with them and talk with some of these friends. And it's like, it has always been like that for me. It has always been like that for me. Now, some relationships have not worked as I had hoped. That's true. Particularly my yeah. Anyway, but that's always been true for me. I've always got to talk to the people that I wanted to. And it's been a real blessing. I'm not a rich man, but I know the best people on the planet, and I've got to talk and have coffee and lunch with and take walks with the best people that there are. The most kind people, generous people, good people. And I'm very thankful for that. Just a thought for tonight. I don't know. Lord have mercy.